Child's play is a term we often hear being used to describe something that's simple or easy to accomplish. However, play has a much greater role in the development of children than many realize. The toys that children play with will influence how they interact with others and solve problems for the rest of their lives. Therefore, it's natural that many parents want their children to be playing with the best toys for all-around development. This ends up being a little tricky because of the normalization of gender-specific toys in our society. An October 2021 article from The Guardian states that toys that are marketed specifically for boys or for girls provide different cognitive benefits, and only exposing a child to one of these categories can significantly hinder the developmental process while perpetuating harmful gender stereotypes. Today, we'll analyze this issue being faced by millions of children by first evaluating its effects, then looking at its causes, before finally considering some solutions. The first step to unraveling the complex issue of gender-specific toys is understanding the significance of its effects on young people. To truly understand these impacts, we'll analyze them through two developmental perspectives, the first being traditional development, such as a child's cognition. The second will be the formation of a child's gender identity. An article from the National Association for the Education of Young Children, last accessed October 25, 2022, describes how in research conducted at Purdue University, the researchers classified over 100 toys as being masculine, feminine, or neutral. At the end of the study, the researchers concluded that the more masculine toys placed a heavy emphasis on fighting and aggression, while the more feminine toys focused more on beauty and nurturing. While it's not inherently negative for children to develop traits such as assertiveness or a willingness to help others, it does become problematic when they're only exposed to that one end of the spectrum. A December 2022 article from genderspecialist.com points out that gender-specific toys are more likely to enforce one or two specific traits, which are then attributed to either males or females once the children grow up, and this obviously presents the issue of a limited scope of development. Next, gender-specific toys harm the formation of a child's gender identity by making children feel like they have to conform to societal gender roles. Frequent exposure to gender-specific toys can make children feel pressured to express themselves in a way that's most comfortable for society, rather than doing what's actually healthiest for themselves. Plus, when children are encouraged to play with toys that encourage the narratives of societal gender roles, they get the message that the adults in their lives expect them to act according to these restrictive stereotypes. And it's simple, common sense that this would cause turmoil in children who are simply trying to figure out the best way to express themselves. This then contributes to many of the detrimental phenomena we observe in adults, one of them being toxic masculinity. Since these negative stereotypes follow us into adulthood, it is clear that gender-specific toys not only pose a threat to optimal child development, but also to adults as they struggle to fit into a world that's based on male and female. We've established that gender-specific toys have negative impacts on children, but how did this problem come to be? How did gender-specific toys become such a staple in American culture? Gender-specific toys are a direct reflection of the development of gender norms in America. For a while, women were expected to merely be domestic and take care of tasks such as raising children or taking care of the house. On the other hand, men were expected to get out in the world and be the primary breadwinners for their families. The trends in gender-specific toys match up very closely with these gender stereotypes. Megan K. Moss, a human development professor from Michigan State University, states in a December 2019 article that she's also noticed some of these same trends among gender-specific toys. The male toys encourage courage, and aggression, while the girls' toys encourage beauty and nurturing. This makes perfect sense when you consider it from the perspective of historical gender stereotypes. The boys' toys were getting them ready to go out into the world, make money, and bring it home for their families, while the girls' toys were getting them ready to raise children of their own and look after their husbands. Furthermore, Professor Moss noted that the gendered advertising of toys really skyrocketed in the 1940s when America was shaking off the effects of the Great Depression. During this time, many wealthy families were willing to shell out lots of money for ostentatious sets of toys that catered to the time's gender norms. This huge profit incentive led toy companies to focus on producing these sets of gendered toys, and this trend persists today as the toy market is flooded with gendered advertising and products. We've considered the negative impact of gender-specific toys and how this came to be, but now it's time to ask ourselves the critical question of what we can do about it. The most obvious solution here is to buy a healthy variety of toys for the children in our lives. Many toy companies have taken great steps to reduce the amount of gender bias in their products, and a July 2021 article from DesignWanted.com provides us with some examples of these progressive companies. Cy Wang is a toy designer who came out with a toy collection called Unisex, and its purpose is to help children experiment with societal gender constructs. For example, they may choose to dress a male doll in stereotypically feminine clothing. Additionally, Hasbro has popped up in the news in the past few years for making its famous Potato Head collection gender neutral. This is also something that allows children to experiment with how they want to present characters of different genders. Another option is to purchase some of the many science kits that are available on the toy market, especially since many of them are gender neutral, according to a February 2023 article from SplashLearning.com. These science kits are great because they get children to practice their critical thinking while having fun. They stimulate tons of logical and analytical activity in a child's brain, which then helps develop their reasoning abilities later on. Although gender-neutral toys are excellent for avoiding gender stereotypes in your children, they don't necessarily have to make up 100% of a child's play options. The aforementioned December 2022 article from genderspecialist.com points out that traditionally male toys encourage the development of a child's spatial awareness and scientific thinking, while traditionally feminine toys encourage kids to learn how to cook and care for a family. All of these traits and many more that are offered by both of the types of toys are extremely beneficial, and children should not be limited to a select few simply on the basis of their gender. The biggest takeaway here is that children need to be provided with a healthy variety of toys to play with in order to avoid a limited scope of development and the enforcement of harmful stereotypes. It's safe to say that everyone wants the best for children. However, this isn't a realistic ideal if we continue to allow negative stereotypes to be enforced on our children. We cannot let gender-specific toys continue to impose these harmful stereotypes on children. Today, we considered the negative impacts of gender-specific toys, what causes them to be so significant, and looked at some better play alternatives. Getting rid of gender stereotypes in America is a massive challenge because of how ingrained they are into our culture. In the meantime, the immediate solution to the issue of gender bias in toys is really just as simple as child's play.